Okay. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and all members are present, and we'll do the land acknowledgement. Municipality of Dysart acknowledges that we're on the traditional territory known as the Williams Treaty First Nations, which includes Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Boswell, and Georgina First Nations. And we thank these nations for their care and stewardship as they pass through our lands. And could we have a resolution to adopt the agenda?
Yeah. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of the Council of Municipality of Dysart et al. Held on April 28th, 2026 be approved as presented.
Mover and seconder, Walt and Pat. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest?
I do, Murray.
Okay,
My family's involved in the tender results for the West Guilford landfill site.
okay, thank you. Resolution to adopt the minutes from the last meeting.
Be it resolved that council approves the following minutes as circulated.
Mover and seconder, Nancy and Tammy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so now we need a resolution to go into the public meeting section.
Be it resolved that council hereby adjourns the regular meeting of council at 9:02 a.m. to proceed into a public meeting to consider draft zoning bylaw amendment file number D14 ZB 2026-005 Lands of Norris and draft zoning bylaw amendment file number D14 ZB 2026-006 Lands of Rushlow.
Mover and seconder, Carm and Walt. All in favor? Carried. Okay. I have to tell you, they've shortened this. They waited till I'm almost done and before they shortened it. We went through that thing, that painful, long epistle for 2.5 years. So anyway, this is the public meeting to consider two proposed zoning amendments to the Dysart zoning bylaws 2005-120 held by council under section 34 of the Planning Act for applications DZ 14 ZB 2026-005 and D14 ZB 2026-006. These public meetings are an opportunity to present council and the public the details and background to the proposed amendments and to receive comments from the public and agencies before council decides. If a person would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of the council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions before the bylaw is passed, the person is not entitled to appeal the decision. The first application on the agenda is zoning bylaw D14 ZB 2026-005 Lands of Norris. Would the planning department please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed bylaw?
Perfect. Thank you and good morning, everyone. The proposed zoning amendment is required to satisfy a condition of a concurrent severance application. That file number with the county is H-025-24. The condition requires that the registered owner apply for a zoning amendment to the municipality of Dysart to recognize the reduced lot area and lot frontage of the remainder of parcel A and to recognize the intended use of the portion of parcel B being transferred to parcel A being transferred to parcel B, which is the benefiting lot, as a result of the consent application. Specifically, the zoning amendment will rezone a portion of the severed lands from rural type 1 zone to waterfront residential 4L. Ensuring that the conveyed lands are zoned consistently with the benefiting lot to which they are being merged with, and to rezone the retained lands from rural type 1 zone and to rural type 1 exception zone to recognize the reduced lot area and lot frontage resulting from the severed for the lot addition. As a requirement under the Planning Act, all neighboring landowners within 120 meters and agencies were circulated on April 7th, and to date, no concerns were received. The application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, generally conforms with the Dysart et al. Official plan, is appropriate, represents good planning, and recommended that council approve the zoning bylaw amendment. Lauren Arsenault is in attendance today with Morgan Planning and can address any questions that council may have.
Okay, does the applicant have any comments they'd like to make?
Morning, council and members of the public. My name is Lauren Arsenault. Thank you, Chris, for that introduction. I'm a planner with Morgan Planning. And thanks for the opportunity to speak on this application on behalf of our clients, Joanne Bleasdale and Ken Norris. I do have a presentation prepared. However, I don't think it's necessary to run through it, given staff's done a great job summarizing, and this is a fairly straightforward application to rezone the retained lands on a previously approved previously approved boundary adjustment. I just want to highlight that no development is proposed as a result of the zoning bylaw amendment application. Rather, the rezoning seeks for a site-specific exception to recognize the reduced lot area and frontage for the retained lands. The severed lands will merge with the abutting parcel 1341 True North Road, which is owned by our clients. And Morgan Planning and Development has reviewed all applicable policy and is of the opinion that the zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the PPS county and municipal official plans and represents good land use planning. We would request that council pass the bylaw as recommended in staff's report, and I'm available to answer any questions that may come up. Thank
Any
you.
questions? Okay, is any members of the public? It doesn't look like there is. So, any questions from council? To the applicant? No? Okay. As a result of these proceedings, does the planning department have any further recommendations?
Yeah, I can read the resolution if you'd like.
Okay,
Be it resolved that the report for file number D14-ZB-2026-005, Lands of Norris, which consists of part lot 6, concession 10 in the geographic township of Dudley, municipality of Dysart et al., be received for information, and that council direct a bylaw be brought forward for consideration during its April 28th, 2026 regular meeting, and that council recommend that the bylaw be approved.
okay. I have a mover and seconder. Barry and Moll, all in favor? Carried. And if there are any
Okay.
further questions, this completes the public meeting process, and anyone wishing to obtain notice of the decision may do so by making a written submission requesting the same.
Thank
Okay,
you, council, and thanks to staff as well for their help with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
okay.
Okay, I
Okay,
can-
the second application on the agenda is zoning bylaw amendment, file D 14ZB 2026-006, lands of Rushlow. Would the planning department please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed bylaw and provide any additional information?
Yes, thank you. The purpose of the application is to permit the establishment of a commercial school or club being a gymnastics facility within the existing industrial building on the subject property. The lands are currently zoned general industrial, which does not permit the proposed use within the employment industrial area. To accommodate the proposed gymnastics facility, the applicant is seeking to rezone the property to a general industrial exception zone to permit the commercial school or club as defined in the zoning bylaw. While a commercial school does not generally align with the primarily intent of the employment area under the provincial planning statement and the municipal official plan, which are intended to accommodate industrial, warehouse, manufacturing uses, it is important to note the surrounding context. The area is predominantly characterized by light industrial uses, business and contractor yards, and warehouse operations that typically generate low levels of noise, vibration, emissions, etc. In addition, the proposed gymnastics facility is expected to operate primarily during the late afternoons and evenings and on weekends, which are largely outside the standard operating hours of the surrounding industrial type businesses. As a result, the potential for land use conflict appears to be limited. No new buildings are being constructed as part of the application. The gymnastics facility will operate entirely within the existing building on the property, with only interior renovations being completed for the use. The property is located within 500 meters of the municipal waste disposal site. The application has completed initial water sampling to demonstrate that suitable potable water is available. As an added precaution, staff is recommending that the ongoing water quality testing be required beyond the approval stage. This would include analysis for leachate related parameters. These requirements would be secured through the site plan agreement with regular testing scheduled to be followed on a timely basis. The proposed zoning amendment also introduces a landscape planting strip to be installed along the north, to be installed and maintained along the north line and street line. This will provide additional buffering between the proposed sensitive use and the adjacent employment area uses. The planting strip along the street frontage will also assist with on-site traffic circulation, helping to ensure safe ingress and egress as reducing the potential for vehicles reversing or blindly pulling into live traffic being industrial road. In addition, the proposed use requires a total of 13 parking spaces, including 2 accessible parking spaces and 2 loading spaces, in accordance with the zoning bylaw. Due to the limited available space on the property, the applicant is requesting a reduction as part of this application of 1 accessible parking space and 1 loading space. This represents a minor reduction from the minimum parking requirements and is considered appropriate given the scale of the proposed use for the existing site constraints. As per the Planning Act, all neighboring property owners within 120 meters and relevant agencies were circulated on April 7th, and the required notice appeared in the local newspaper. To date, the following comments were received from the County of Haliburton. The county is generally supportive, subject to the drinking water monitoring program secured through the registered development and or the site plan agreement. And the full comments were provided in the report. And given the above information, staff recommend that council approve the bylaw intended for the intended use of the property. And I believe we have Kathy and I think Greg is in attendance as well, Greg Bishop as well, to answer any questions on this file.
Okay, does the applicant or Greg, do you have comments?
None for me.
Okay,
Through you, Mayor Ferry. And Chris, thank you so much for the work you've done on this. And by getting the slight reduction in parking, we can actually hold the site plan as it sits, which makes another issue go away, that we're not having to revamp the site plan. But I have talked to Rodney Geyer and he will allow me to add dimensions to the site plan as required, Chris, there, so that you can attach it to your final report. So I don't have any other comments, and if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
pretty well was talked about the last time we were here.
Exactly. So we're in good shape.
Marie, again, this is nothing against staff by any stretch of the imagination, but in regard to planting strips and everything that's there, there's forest, I think, on 3 sides of that property now, and it's kind of an odd property in that it's a cul-de-sac in the wintertime, and in the summer you can go down over the hills. So my only concern is that if we put a planting strip in front of the building, it's going to limit the amount of turnaround that they're going to have in the wintertime. So my own opinion would be to remove that, so there's no planting strips required at all in my own mind. I took a drive by there the other day, but again, I don't see it as a huge safety issue either, because they're at the end of the road, and I think it's the last lot on that road, and the access to the next one's down over the hills. There's no need for that, but and the other thing I'll mention too is that if it were, my own opinion is, again, if the gymnastics club did their own water testing based on their own due diligence, I would leave that with them, my own opinion. I don't know if council has to put them under a framework of getting monthly water tests done on that note. Anyway, it's my own opinion again, but
That may be a provincial thing, I'm not sure.
I realize that, but if the buffer zone is a direct result of the landfill, then is that a problem to the new tenant, or is that a problem of the landfill?
I can answer that if you wish, through you, Mayor Ferry. That is a provincial issue and it's also a liability issue for the township.
Okay.
Anything within 500 meters, it should go in the site plan agreement so that they're testing and that you're protected, actually. You've got a number of properties already down from the dump there that you're supplying water to and so on. And it's actually becomes your responsibility, even though it's driven down from the
Both
province
sides.
down, right?
Yep.
So I do think it should be part of the agreement. And to your point about the front there, I look at it as well. The site plan clearly from before clearly showed that we were going to put something out front to allow the flow to come in from one side and out the other. Right now, there's been nothing there. So the township goes in and plows in that whole area actually
Right.
because of the turnaround.
Yes.
Well, as they start using it, how you're going to plow in there is going to have to change. And so I think that's obviously why Chris is recommending the buffer of some sort so that the flow of traffic comes into the property, parks and flows back out the other side. And it's just not, all over and not a full driveway, the full width of the property.
Mhm.
So it's more from an ingress egress is the reason that it's there. I get where you're coming from. I can't remember what the north side looks like, but that's where Chris is also suggesting maybe something there as well. Because we're putting a sensitive land use in the middle of an industrial zone. And normally, again, you would want to protect that sensitive land use from a visual perspective is all. So maybe it's just some planting of trees that can grow up at some point in time and give some visual impact to buffer, I guess, to the industrial side.
Well, if everyone can make it work, I guess that's great. But again, just looking at it, when I drove by it the other day, it didn't look like there was enough room there for that. But anyway, I'll leave it to,
Gonna
leave
be
it to
a
you guys
problem
to sort.
if you get a winter like this year with a lot of snow, I think.
Right, but no, not only that, like static parking places plus egress in and out, it'll be interesting, but anyway.
Any other comments on that? Thanks, Greg. Okay. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to provide their comments. Is anyone here from the public? Not being none. Are there any questions or more comments from council? So we're kind of in no man's land here right at the moment, aren't we?
So I can read the resolution if council would like me to do that.
Okay,
Be it resolved that the report for file number D14-ZB- 2026-006 Rushlow, which consists of part lot 11, concession 9, part 17, plan 19R-4878, in the geographic township of Dysart, municipality of Dysart et al., be received for information, and that council direct a bylaw be brought forward for consideration during its April 28th, 2026 regular meeting, and that council recommends that the bylaw be approved.
okay. Mover and seconder? Mover Barry, second by Nancy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. If there are no further questions, this completes the public meeting process. And anyone wishing to obtain notice of the decision may do so by making a written submission requesting such to the planning technician. I now declare this portion of the public meeting closed at 9:20 a.m. Yes, resolution.
Be it resolved that council hereby adjourns the public meeting at 9:20 a.m. and reconvenes the regular meeting of council.
Mover and seconder, Carm and Walt, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so where are we here? So request for a right of way over municipal lands. That's Greg. I think that's you.
Okay, so I know it was deferred last time, so I just wanted to come back and obviously have a formal discussion on it this time for sure. I'm part of the Anglican Church, so I know what's going on as far as the educational, recreational purposes there as well. So don't, that's not lost on me. Don't get me wrong there. That's why I'm actually asking for right of way only. Let's not go ownership route. As you're probably also aware, our family's been the ownership of the property in the middle there between the two township 100 acre lots where you have the park on the one side and you also have the 100 acres on to the west of us there. And we've owned it for 58 years, and for decades, we've been good stewards of those lands and in fact, allowed that recreational use to continue on and have the ski trails that go across us. And it covers the west loop and the round of the mountain loop and the outlook loop are all on the west side. So without crossing through us, it actually shuts your ski trails down to the west as well. And I was debating, obviously, I don't buy property unless I want to develop it, but I've come back full circle on this one because if we go subdivision route and come from the south, one, I don't think you should allow us to cross the side road, the road allowance, because we're actually going to disrupt your snowmobile trail as well. There's a deep gorge in there and so on, and the only way to do it is literally fill. So the ski trail, the snowmobile trail will be in trouble. And by coming from the other side, from the north off the highway would also allow us to continue the use of the ski trails as well. So right of way only can only be used for one single purpose, can only be used for building. It can't be used for subdivision. You have to have ownership for subdivision uses and so on. In fact, the highways will only allow a single entrance there anyways, if they do. So that's like, there's a couple of reasons why we want to come from the other way. Like, I have no issue going to the church if you wish to have a resolution there to talk about it that way. My other concern potentially too is the main loop may also be honest. So maybe there's a possibility of exchange of lands there of some sort as well to make sure the main loop stays on the park lands and in exchange for the right of way as well. The other option I thought about as well is instead of giving cash donation to the township, I could do the cash donation to the church as well. So just throwing some ideas out there and for discussion. And I don't need a decision today. This isn't something that's an urgent one way or the other. And I'd like to work through it and I'm born and raised here. I want that ski trail and snowmobile trail to survive, into the future and so on. And I want to stay as a good steward on this property.
So to be clear here, McMaster owns this piece.
To the south, yeah.
South, and you're a single owner on them?
No, that's McMaster. I got to buy them out to build there. I
Okay.
have to buy them out to build there. Yep. They're still partners in it.
Okay. And what this 100 feet that I think your dad gave us?
Now, actually, that was Skylar LaRue. I think when you did the work they did the severances, Skylar LaRue, that's just on the other side of the McMaster piece.
Your driveway.
Exactly. And that came from Skylar LaRue, actually. When you gave the severances across the road to them there.
We took that.
You took that. Yeah, exactly.
So
But it comes up to the side road.
You have access to the 100 acres.
It does, but it affects the snowmobile trail.
Okay. Okay.
I'm trying to avoid coming that way. I don't want to affect the snowmobile trail or the ski trail at the end of the day.
So you're prepared to go to the church because I'm
Absolutely.
a stickler on those.
Yeah, I hear you, Murray. I thought about that later too. I hear you. It's yep. That's why I say, let's have a discussion today. I don't mind deferring it and going and having a chat with the church and whatever. And maybe in the meantime, I can get Chris's crew in there with the GPS and figure out maybe the main loop is on there. Maybe we need to deed you back 5 acres or something because the main loop is completely honest too as well.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the critical loop in my mind, is that main loop.
And how
I
far-
still think it comes on to us.
How far off the highway will you be building in there then?
Up on the first lift. I mean, I think the snow,
It does go straight up almost there.
actually it doesn't. It's so deceiving there. It
Okay,
lifts
it
up
looks like
about 10 feet and then it's perfectly flat. I think it shows the best on the topo survey. Actually, the topo survey that's attached to your agenda there, page 63, it literally goes up and then it flattens right into a flat area there. There's probably about 30 or 40 acres to the south of the ski trail
Yeah. I
that's
know.
usable in there, right? That would, all kinds of privacy and the reason I say ski trail, I mean, I have no issue with ski trail at all. They're only in there in the wintertime. like Mark hunts it, we hunt it, so I don't really
You
like.
got that nice property there off Cashtag Road. I can't believe you're going up it.
Oh, well, we've got about four choices here, Murray. We have to make up make a choice
For
and
you.
this isn't a choice right now because you can't get to it.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
And so you still need an MTO approval there.
Absolutely. I may go back to MTO and they may say, no, we still have a problem, right? And I could go the whole transportation study issue and move the guardrail and do all that stuff and it may have to.
So
But they want it opposite the commercial entrance there. They like the fact that from a safety perspective, that the driveway would come out right opposite of the
Right, yeah.
township shed driveway there, right? So that you're not having that issue of staggered a bit where somebody pulls in front of the other or whatever, you know, in that sense. So you'd have to move one guardrail post and move it back and I'm not a transportation engineer, so I'm an engineer, but not that type, but been through a lot of them at the OMB. I do think that I can get it, but it'll just take time
Still
to,
gotta be-
gotta work through the process.
So, so if you go to the church, I'm just throwing this out here, and then you, go to the MTO and say, I can get this access. If I
Yep.
get it, will you guys approve that? Then you'll know.
That's the only way I'll know. I've already lost my permit. I have to put it in again. That's just timing. It's always
Time
typical with MTO, right? So I'll have to start the process again with your resolution and see whether they'll approve it or not. All of my discussions with her has been over the phone. I haven't got anything in writing from them either. So dead on. If I don't get them, then I don't need the right of way. I don't need the access, right? It's not gonna work.
Okay.
So it's really two or three
Two
step
or three
process
things that
have to happen in order to make it happen.
Okay. So,
Murray, just, for me, we got lots to think about. There's a lot more things you brought up, Greg.
Yeah,
since last
exactly.
Time, so if we're okay to defer it, I'd say we defer it and then come up with an answer for you next council meeting. That way you know where you're going.
Yeah, the only thing I need, I guess, yeah, and I need a direction though. I agree to defer it, but that you would support it if certain things happen. Like I don't want to go back to the MTO if I'm not gonna, right, in that sense. So yeah, I know what you mean though, Pat. It's the church is the first thing no matter what. Like, there's no question.
Well, I would support it as long as you
long as
go to
the-
the church.
and they're okay with it.
and They're okay with it. And, I mean, there's the trails, which I was aware of, and you're willing to do some property exchange if we need be.
And I
or-
do, like,
or a
I don't
donation.
want that main trail to be on that acreage. ever.
Or a donation. So, yeah, I don't know where we go from here, but I
well,
mean.
we could,
it's-
I'm just gonna throw out, we could do a resolution saying that,
Support it.
we would, grant a right of way subject to MTO approval.
Mhm.
That way allow you to go to the MTO.
At least it
and
gets
to
me
the
there.
church, and
Yeah.
it doesn't commit us till we do it.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
The MTO and the church, it has to be both, right?
So we can do that kind of a resolution here today.
Yeah, that's fair. At least gives me a direction. At least I can get.
Okay, have you
get
got
moving
that?
on it.
Madam? No,
No,
we're
you're
we're
actually gonna-
passing it
Subject to.
subject to, approval, of the MTO.
And the Anglican Church.
And the Anglican Church.
Yeah. That gets me going in a direction, at least I can figure it out.
Good luck with the MTO.
She was the one that wanted me to move it down and I kind of had to agree with her. Makes way more sense to be across from the other way. And she wanted me to move it up to where that other entrance is, where it's already there, and
Yeah.
you know, right? And that corner's bad enough, let alone put somebody else in that same driveway. And we don't own the property,
That's
right? We would.
Brannigan.
Exactly. We don't own the Brannigan entrance, so we'd have to go to them, negotiate it right away. And it's just, so I think MTO was for it in the discussion a year ago. Who knows who's on staff?
Yeah, who knows, even if she's still there.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Got to start somewhere though. Thanks.
Okay, we'll get this done and then move on. Okay, but not a lot of time. Where we go?
Be it resolved that council approves a request from Bishop to grant a right-of-way over a portion of the lands owned by the municipality of Dysart et al. Described as Part Lot 15, Concession 10 in the geographic township of Dysart. The right-of-way is for driveway purposes to access their lands in Lot 14, Concession 10, and the geographic township of Dysart, subject to the approval from the Anglican Church and MTO.
It was a long way to get there, but you got there, I think. Okay, mover and seconder. Gary and Walt, all in favor? Carried. Thanks, Greg. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Dyke. Yeah, just wherever you please. Okay. Yeah, that way you can see everybody. I think everybody's aware of what's going on here, but Gary's going to give us an overview today.
Well, thank you, Your Worship, for inviting me here today to speak to council and answer any questions you may have and give an overview as where we are with, as council is aware, back on, I think it was the 8th of April, County Council passed a resolution to direct me to undertake an affordability and governance study for the county of Halliburton. We do have a copy of my presentation. I can just jump through. I won't give you the full version because it was about an hour long. So I won't give you the full version, but there's
Thank
a couple
you.
pieces to, yeah, couple pieces to reference, if for you will. So just from a premise standpoint, how this started and what it is, and I guess in a way as to more for council's information as to what it's not. During the budget process at the county level, starting back in the summer of 2025, getting ready for the 2026 budget, and as you can appreciate with the budget deliberations you had here at the township, a lot of the questions we're raising and the difficulty we're having with respect to the fiscal planning going forward, not just 1 year, but into 3, 5, and 10 years into the future, both the traditional 10-year forecast on the capital side, but also looking at what are the challenges we're facing going forward on the 5 to 10-year program on an operational piece as well. One of the pieces we found with respect to specifically around the county, which indirectly affects the townships yourself and the other 3 local municipalities, was the level of money that was being spent on external sources. Primary one being our social services and housing piece, as well as just some standard ones around what we pay to AMPAC, what we pay into the library system, which we pay into other areas like the health unit and things of that nature that we are legislatively obligated to provide funding for, and we have very limited control over how that money is spent. And this is not any kind of commentary on the services provided that we're getting from those sides, but it's just there are some limitations on how we function. And with respect to social services and housing, in dealing with the City of Kawartha Lakes, who's the service manager for us, we do receive a good level of service into our communities from CKL through social services. However, there are some gaps that we have that are forcing us to look at other ways to finance some of the gaps we identified. They're specific to Halliburton County and be it here in Halliburton Village or in Minden, where the predominant use of the services is. And in the social services realm, which is more a comment on this funding formula that comes through the province and how that's put forward, is we've seen year over year increases in the 20 to 25% range. And last year's was the most significant one, where the portions of it were pushed up into 40% increases going forward. And when we're looking at those external services impacts we have, we're also looking at what the impact is having on what we're doing internally and what we're doing from the community investment side of things, which is more the term I'd use was more the discretionary spending of council. It's being negatively impacted by the ability to, because of the amount of money going out with, when we're trying to mitigate the amount of tax increase going forward. And as through the budget process, we had councils being forced into taking an extraordinary, what I would deem to be extraordinary steps to mitigate the tax rate increases, which is either deferring capital money, reducing capital monies, I think going forward, which just kind of moves the ball down the road a little bit as we're going forward. And out of that came, well, what are we looking from affordability standpoint going forward? What's the best way to look at that as we move forward? And where we came up was with this study going forward is looking at exactly how much we're spending on our operations as both at the county level and at the local level. What are our financial obligations going forward over the next 3 to 5 years or 10 years when you're getting more into the capital side of things as well? And what does that mean to us going forward as we move forward in a program? Because we are limited in our financial abilities to raise money. Ms. Black restricts us to especially in where we are, we're looking at greater than 97% around there of the property tax is where our revenue comes from. And that is a finite way of when you're creating an affordability quotient within your municipalities. And as we move forward are we getting into this position where we may be becoming unaffordable under our current structure, our current operational piece for the people that live here? And does it diminish our abilities to invest in the things that make Haliburton County with respect to your trail maintenance, any park development, those type of cultural investments that are being made at both levels going forward, and what's the impact that going forward? And how best to look at it without looking at year-over-year tax increases or significant tax increases to raise the money. Because the other thing that's limiting factor to us is that 98% of our revenue comes from the residential tax base. Unlike the GTHA municipalities or even the 401 quarter municipalities in East Ontario, where they have a substantive industrial commercial base to provide funding into the revenues of the municipality, we don't have that. And also with respect to, we haven't had a reassessment since 2016. And granted, it's a bit of a complicated math formula to work out. The longer that delays, the harder it is for us the greater impact it has on our community. And the province is showing no direction of changing that anytime soon. So the longer we go without the reassessment, it's a disproportionate demand on the lower socioeconomic pieces of our county as we have to raise the percentage on the taxes going forward. So all those things brought into being, we are looking at how do we identify the best way to go forward with this to ensure that we are spending the money that we receive in the greatest way possible without having to go back over and over again for more money. And when you break it down to what our long-term obligations are, particularly in the capital investment standpoint, I'll speak specifically to the county, and I know you're quite aware of the obligations you have at the local level. We have about an $18 million infrastructure gap at the county. Even with the institution of 1.5% capital levy we put in place 2 years ago, even with that levy going forward, we would have to have a minimum of a 3% rate increase every year over year for 10 years, just on the capital side of things, and we still wouldn't eliminate that gap. We would still be looking for other sources of revenue to do that gap, and that would the same principles would apply to the local municipalities as well. And when you start adding those together to some of the other demands, we know that's coming down the pike for the county with respect to the affordable housing piece. The city of Kawartha Lakes has just put forward their deeply affordable housing program, which provides investment into Haliburton County for vulnerable sector housing. As you're looking at the study that's out right now, it identifies a $38.9 million obligation to the county over a 10-year period over the next 10 years. The study also identifies, I believe it's around 80% of that $39 million is front-end loaded. It's spent within the first 5 years of the 10-year plan. And that's money that doesn't currently exist within the county's budget programs. That would be an add-on to what we currently put forward. And when you look at other obligations we have going forward at both the upper and lower tier, policing costs for the local municipalities, currently it's a fixed cap at 11% right now. That cap is only in place for 2026. And in 2027, you're probably looking going back to what the actual increase would be. And so there's going to be a definite impact on the local municipalities there, plus the share of the pass down from the county levy into the township on the housing piece. And so when we start adding those things together, what's the picture look like when you're getting 3, 5, 10 years out? And so we're looking at this. So looking at this study, and it's important to note, this isn't any kind of commentary on the way services are provided. This is not saying you need to do better or we need to do better or the other municipalities need to, but this is about what are we spending our money on? Because the system we have now is I think the phrase I used or the comment I used in my report was we're with the complexity that we're faced with right now is like, and some of you appreciate, I know Murray will definitely appreciate this. When I started working in the municipal sector in 1988, like the municipal act wasn't even an inch thick. Like, and now it's 3 volumes with appendices, and that the complexities we face now are nothing that were ever contemplated when our current structures were put in place, but particularly on a financial standpoint. And we're being asked to solve 21st century problems with a system that was created in the 19th century. And how do we move forward, and what's the best method to do that? And so this study itself, or what we're looking at now, this is an economic study. This is a financial review of what we're looking at and how do we ensure that we're affordable? Because I think one of the dangers I think we have, and you're seeing this in some northern municipalities, is if we don't examine what we're doing, if we do not look as to the best way we're spending our money, not our money, but the public's money going forward, is you can run the risk of becoming unaffordable for your ratepayers, your businesses going as we move outwardly from today. And what's the best way to look at that? And the first step at that is looking at what's the current landscape actually is. What are we services are we providing? How are they being provided, and in what fashion, and what's that cost? And then how do you line that up with what the vision or the desires of the community are, plus the visions of councils going forward, and how we go forward. And this is also important right now with what you're seeing is going across the province through the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. This aligns with the premise that the province has with respect to municipalities being responsible to create a system by which that we are creating environments that facilitate growth and stability within our communities. And how do we align with that going forward? Right now that we have a lot of anecdotal information as to, yes, we do this and we're here and we're efficient here, but we don't have that information to do an actual analysis on that. And part of the study will take that baseline information and look at what options exist. And there's an array of options from we're good right now with some minor tinkering all the way through to complete overhaul of the governance structure. So they're all being looked at going forward. Can you flip the slide for me, please? Yeah. So getting back to my original comment, one of the areas we're looking at is how do we create the environment for growth and long-term stability? And the other part of it is create capacity within our municipalities where we have the opportunity to invest in our communities for the softer features or the things that are specifically unique to our communities, while still meeting our financial obligations, something that are external to our organization. And that leads to the quality of service being provided, that you looked at making sure that it is meeting our current system provides the services that are needed within the community. And one of the aspects from the county area is looking at the broader community health. We've created a community health levy at the county to address the gaps that we have. Like, again, not being critical of what CKL provides to us, but there still are some community health or wellness aspects that aren't covered within that funding we're providing forward. And how do we ensure that that's being brought forward? And I think that's going to be a greater aspect that we need to look at in the coming years, particularly around things like physician recruitment or medical professional recruitment, which is, again, isn't covered by the province. There's a lot of aspects that aren't covered by the province that's unique to Ontario, healthcare being one of them, doctor recruitment being another one, housing being one. Those type of things are traditionally held at the provincial level with the exception of Ontario. And how do we meet those obligations? Because one of the comments I've heard in the past is that, well, we shouldn't be involved with that because that should be at the province. And I don't disagree with those statements, but the province isn't doing it now. And how do we function to make our communities whole while still lobbying for those things to change? Next slide, please. Back up one, please. Sorry. No, sorry. Keep going. Yeah. Right here. So, and this is the things I talked about it again, is that the complex financial landscapes we have, the external pressures, the costs are going up. And from an inflationary standpoint, we're like everybody else. Like, we're hit with the inflation, particularly in our public work side of things. We have employment contract costs that are again, it's not a commentary in the work done. We have outstanding staffs at all levels. but that is a cost we have to examine. And the residential tax base, again, as well, as 98% of revenue comes from the residential tax base, which is the most fragile of the tax bases we have. And the significant upcoming funding gaps that we have. Next slide, please. And so as we look at the premise going forward is a community-wide study, and we are looking at it from the standpoint, this is a community benefit study. And it provides clarity of what our current environment is. So we're comparing apples to apples when we're having our discussions with the goals of creating affordability for the ratepayers across the county at all levels, modernization of the governance model, and support for the stable and strong economy for Haliburton County. Next slide, please. As I mentioned before, it's about allowing us to make sure that we're keeping things that make Haliburton County so attractive to visit and live, and other part-time, full-time basis is those things remain, but allowing our residents to remain in the county, be it this generation or the next generation. But the other thing that's important with the study of this nature, and this is one thing that's intrigued the province, is that instead of just going to the province and saying, you need to do these things for us to move forward, we're making sure we have our own house in order first, is that we've done everything we can internally to make sure that we've maximized the service level to our community. We've adjusted our costs or spending in areas to ensure that it happens. But now we need the assistance going forward. We can clearly indicate where that support comes from. And it also allows us to understand what actually are the options we have going forward to create the better future for the community as a whole. Next slide, please. This is a reference. It's 35% of our increases over the last in 2026 went to services beyond our control, as I did mention before. And that we're looking at that escalate as over the coming years. Next slide, please. I spoke to this already. Actually, one thing, just to go back one piece there, this is the important part, is that I didn't mention yet, is that on top of the 98% residential tax base, in Haliburton County, the average household income is 17% lower than provincial average. That's post-tax, right? So it goes back to my comment about the impact on the certain social demographic basis within our community, is that the impact it has by how we spend our money and going back to them for asking more over time. And also from being a tourism-based economy, where we have a permanent population is just a shade over 20,000 people, but on peak demand population of like 44,000 people. And so we're having to design our infrastructure on peak demand versus the permanent demand. And there's that gap that is created by the ability to pay. We're building things at certain elements to a 45,000 population base with revenues based on a 20,000 population base. So there's that inadequacy that needs to be addressed going forward. And the demands those put on our services. I spoke about the asset management underfunded. We're still $19 million underfunded. Paramedic services, again, is something that we're looking at from a global standpoint. There's from outstanding contractual arbitration hearings going forward that could significantly impact the cost of paramedic services. And emergency management, which is quite topical now with the recent flooding in Minden Hills, the ice storm we had last spring in 2025 that affected Minden Hills and pretty much all the lower parts of the county. Our levels of investment in emergency management is not, in my opinion, where it should be right now. And that's one of the discretionary spending areas we'd look at. That would be, I think, it's gonna be a pressure going forward as the extreme events are becoming more and more frequent over time. I spoke about this already. Next slide, please. And even just from a local standpoint, and this, I talked about policing and your infrastructure costs, but also things like your downtown revitalization. We're a tourist-based economy, and places like the village of Haliburton and the village of Minden is the investment required in those to keep those places that are attractive to the tourism and support of the tourism industry is an area that requires investment and making sure that the money exists to complete those investments. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And so this slide is meant to be just directive in a sense as to why county council approved going forward with the study, is that it's our opinion, as I'm speaking from myself, if we do not look at how we are currently spending our money or look at ensuring ways we're maximizing the investments we're able to make on a broad base, external versus internal costs. We run the risk of reduced service levels, community service levels, which will lead to loss of community-based assets, which is some of the infrastructure we're talking about, some of the parks, the trail systems, things of those nature. We've talked about the budget decisions that councils were forced into making in 2025 into 26, which is deferred infrastructure renewal work, which just exacerbates that cost going forward, where that will build upon itself, and the increased tax burden on the ratepayers of Haliburton County. And I think it's very important for us. We need to understand what our current situation is to fully understand our options and make informed decisions on what options are available to us going forward. From a process standpoint, this is from the study itself, is that we've contracted EORN, or East Ontario Regional Network, who's a functional arm of the East Ontario Wardens Network that you would be familiar with through some of the cell tower project coming through your community. They have a strong knowledge of Eastern Ontario and more importantly, rural Eastern Ontario, with a mandate to dedicate improving and supporting economic growth and quality of life across the area. Next slide, please. The project itself, it's a fully involved open process whereby it's an open and transparent process with public engagement. It's collaborative between the county, the local municipalities, as well as the community. And so we have an understanding what we're trying to achieve as we're going forward, is that it's, yes, the economics is key, but also making sure that when we're evaluating what that looks like is what are we trying to achieve at the end, right? It's not just saying, okay, we're trying to create a structure, but what are we trying to create and serve the community as a whole? And these elements are critical to the project, is knowing what the community's vision is, knowing what the impact, the inputs from the local municipalities are, as well as from at the county level, and sharing the local data that exists within all the communities, because the service levels are different between the county and the local municipalities, and ensuring that data is there, so the information being put in, we fully understand what's being done, the impact it's having, the benefit, and from a structural standpoint as well, and then create regular touch points through the process to ensure that we're still on track through the project going forward. One of the aspects for those that were around during the amalgamation period back in 1999, one of the pieces that was left out was the lack of community involvement in those processes, and understanding where we're going for it. Because I said before, we truly believe that this is a project for the benefit of the community as a whole, not just from an organizational standpoint or a geographic standpoint. It's from the community, making sure that the amenities are here, that keep people wanting to live here, want people to keep coming here to boost the tourism industry, but also make it an enjoyable place to live, an affordable and stable place to live. And so that from that standpoint, we really feel it's important that we hear from as many people as possible and create opportunities by which a variety of voices throughout the community are heard during the process, from all the municipalities within the county. And then part of the work, I had a meeting with EORN last week, is that there's a comprehensive engagement program where it's very specific as to who's involved, how much they're involved, both in a specific and a general sense going forward, with respect to the program, so that all that information is put in place. Next slide, please. Just quickly, I'll go through the steps we're at now. We've already started the engagement piece with the consulting team, and that is, so at the end of this week, they will be fully engaged and undertaking their work at the start of next week. We have a very tight time frame to have the study completed by the end of July, with the presentation to the county council and the public at the first week of August. And this allows the study to be completed and made public while there's the nomination period for the upcoming election is still active. So it's an information source for the entire community. Anybody that wants to run for council, anybody want to educate themselves on how they're going to interact during the election process. And then there would be no decision made on the study or the recommendations of the study. It would just be put out there. We've instructed the consultant that we're not under a typical piece. We're not asking for a preferred recommendation. It's like, here are the options with the supporting information for costing whichever for each one of the options. And then going through the election in October is, I currently have the direction from county council to bring the report back to the first working meeting of the new council in either late 26, early 27. And then the new council would dictate the process from that going forward as to further public involvement with the local municipalities going forward. That's a Cole's Notes version of a much longer presentation. I apologize as I speak quickly, I know, but it's I wanted to leave an opportunity for questions from council members around process or where we're at. But I think it's important that two things to repeat is that there is no decision being made on the findings of the study. Until that will be a job of the subsequent councils as to what to do the study back when they reconvene after the election. But to reiterate, this isn't a report designed for being critical of the manner in which services are provided at either the county level or the local level. This truly is an economic study and a financial study, making sure that we're doing everything we can to ensure that the money we are collecting from the ratepayers of Haliburton County is being spent in the most efficient and effective means possible, and also mitigating the need for just continually incremental increases to the tax rates going forward as best we can.
I have a question because you touched base on the city of Kawartha Lakes, Haliburton, that they kind of look after all our housing. Is that a contract period that they were chosen to do that with? Is that up for like a renewal? Is that something that can be taken more in-house at the county level?
Through your worship, the Councillor Wood Roberts, I think so the short answer is no. Under the current system for delivery of social services, City of Kawartha Lakes was deemed to be the service manager for our area, which included us. So it's an agreement between the City of Kawartha Lakes and the province, not with us. We're just part of the catchment areas defined by the province. We are currently right now but we do have a service level agreement with the City of Kawartha Lakes that's currently coming up to base, and we're currently in the process of negotiating that. And we're looking for some changes to allow us more flexibility in how certain services are administered within Haliburton County versus the way they currently are. And even to the point where allowing us, if we identify a service gap that we think needs to be addressed, but which is outside of what the scope is, that we can still have that service even if we have to pay separately for it. But we're creating more flexibility within arrangement hopefully within the new agreement we have with CKL.
And we pay the city of Kawartha Lakes, what is that average a year
I
to provide that?
I think off the top of my head, it's around $3 million.
It's just around three.
It's around $3 million. And that covers childcare services, social services, and housing.
That.
Gary, a lot of things come to my mind when you're talking about this whole thing. Number one, I applaud the whole approach to getting the public involved and everything else, because I think it's important for everyone to have transparency as to what money's coming in, what's going out, efficiencies, which all keeps us healthy, whether you're in business or anything else. On that note, but a lot of things come to mind, which I'll maybe phone you later on to get some more facts on it. But anyway, to Nancy's point, again, I won't go on and on here, but in the retirement housing type thing that we have here for our seniors, I really struggle with, and again, forgive me if I got the facts wrong, but having people with addiction issues moved into retirement homes on that note. And I know Kawartha Lakes dictates who comes and who goes out of there. I struggle with that because we have people that have spent their whole lives looking for some grace period as they get older, and then stress levels go through the roof because people with addiction issues should be treated or housed or put in a different spot. Not to be too hard on them, but on the same note, two different issues. One's a retirement home, one's addiction treatment.
on that note. So I don't know if that's relevant coming up in your discussions with them, but I would really like that to be shared with Kawartha Lakes on that note. I know they're not going to build like, an addiction-based facility around here for that, on that note. But anyway, that's just one of the many things that come to mind when you're chatting. The other one was when the province hands down, say, highways or other services to us, do they provide financial relief as well to that? So say they hand us down, whatever, 121. Do they give us so much money a year to maintain that there at that point? Or are they just saying, here, this is yours? Because again, if they're downloading, this is my mind again, downloading their services on us, then essentially provincial taxes should be coming down because our taxes should be going up to look after their infrastructure. And we're finding that in Dysart here now with, I don't know how many bridges. I think we talked 20 bridges coming up. And again, we're at our municipal level looking at infrastructure gaps. How are we going to handle this? Because they've been downloaded on us with no clear way in terms of, unless we borrow a lot of money and raise taxes a lot, how are we going to cover the gap, you know?
So so you raise a good point, Council. And that's kind of what the premise, what we're talking about is looking down the road. Because traditionally, when there are elements or service levels downloaded for the province, some money may come with it, but certainly not enough for an ongoing maintenance piece, right? It's like buying a brand new truck and then all of a sudden you only have enough money for the truck.
Right.
Right. You can't keep the truck on the road. You can't afford tires, brakes, whatever. And so we're kind of in that position right now. And so that's why I think it's so important that we really look at how we're spending every dollar we have right now to ensure that we can augment and support those type of things that we have, those gaps we have to fill. Or conversely, when we go to the province to have discussions around exactly what you're talking about, we can show directly that we've done everything we can to ensure that we're spending the money the best way possible with the best benefit. And then, so then the argument goes back to the province. It's time for you to do your part. Instead of just going to province, you need to do, and they look at us and go, well, what are you doing? Right. And so it's kind of that balancing piece as well. But also, I think to take it extended a bit further, by doing these type of studies and identify, making sure that we come to the point that we are the most efficient with the way we are collecting and spending our money, is that if we reduce the areas where we can reduce, and it may not be like you're going to actually reduce the amount of money to collect, it's like a cost containment thing, but now you have the money already where you can fill a gap that may not be being serviced by the province or by another service provider. Or more importantly, it's something that comes up at the community level where the community wants investment in something, that you now have the ability to do that without having a significant rate increase or depletion of reserves or things of that nature, right? So that's kind of how we're viewing it. That's why I very adamant in the fact that this is an economic financial study. Like that's what this is. It's not a service review. It's actually, it's based on the economics of the community.
Right. Kind of connected.
Yeah,
heavily
exactly.
on that note. And,
Yeah.
and again, as to Nancy said there, roads are the same as the police services on the same note. Lastly, I won't drag this. I don't think I'll keep dragging this on, but what is it? Again, not kicking planners, but locally, if I feel if the municipality, whether it's Dysart or Highlands East, whoever, decides that they're, as a council for a development, I struggle with it a lot that we have to go through a second tier of full planning and full studies and full proof of a lot of different things that I've already done at the municipal level, bottom, in our tier. It often discourages development through the framework of having to redo everything again and having to get approvals again and again. So I don't know whether there's a hybrid model that we could look at as we move forward here of different, again, you mentioned it's not really a service delivery review, but some of these things we're talking about are directly related to overhead costs of the township. So again, if we make it too prohibitive with overlapping approvals on that note, and I do understand there has to be approval framework there, that it discourages development, whether it's industrial or commercial or even residential here in our community, to go elsewhere where the systems are not as blocked or problematic on that note. But anyway,
So on that part, you're correct. So when I meant to comment, this isn't a service delivery review piece, simply because there was a very comprehensive service delivery review that was done in 2022 that took a close look at just exactly what you're talking about on any number of areas. That information is still relevant. Right. And that will be inputted and used as part of this program. And that's what was allowing us to do it within the 90 days. And so, but those, you're right, those are the type of things when you're looking at issues of redundancy, issues of supportive services, collaborative services, those type of things, and what we're talking about in looking at the various options available to the local and the county councils going forward would be looking at those type of things.
Okay.
Right. And to make sure, again, that goes back to the administrative cost part of it, of providing the services. But at the same time, if you correct the structure, then you would hopefully eliminate any of those kind of congestion points or barriers that may be in any, not just planning, but in any service that we provide.
Very good. Okay.
Well,
Yeah, Gary, you threw out a lot of big numbers there about where we could be in 10 years, correct? Like in regard to cost to operate the county and all our municipalities. And I've said this quite often because I know that, like we do this, municipalities are so accountable. And it seems to me that the province and especially the feds, they're not accountable for all the money that they collect. And what I'm kind of worried about here is in the future here, like you were saying there, like something has to be done. You're right. Is the province going to be there to help us like the way they used to, or is this thing too far down down the track, out of the way, gone?
If I understand, excuse me, Councillor, if I understand your question correctly, excuse me, Deputy Mayor McKechnie, I don't think it's too far down the road, but it's definitely to the point where we have to pay attention to it, right? And we have to pay attention to all aspects that we're doing. And I'm not unsympathetic or unempathetic to the impacts it would have at various levels, be at the county level or at the local level. But I think we're to the point now where our obligation, both myself as CAO for the county, I have an obligation to county council, by extension to the local councils, that I am bringing the best information forward on projections into the future, right? To making sure that we're making the best decisions possible. And so I think that's where we're at right now. I think if we wait longer, we could be to the point where, I'm not trying to be alarmist, we could be to the point that if we let it go 2, 3, 4 years down the road, I think, yes, we could be a significant problem. We've seen that with some of the Northern Ontario municipalities. But I honestly think that the more work we do to better understand and identify areas to make ourselves better at the local and the county level within Haliburton, the better standing we have when we go to the provincial government and go to the federal government from a lobbyist standpoint in the necessary supports they should be providing us in the big ticket items like healthcare, like housing, like social services. Without doing our own homework first, I think we're kind of wrong-footed going in. It gives them an easy out for us. And so I think we're kind of, and I hope I'm answering your question. So that's kind of what we're doing now, is making sure understanding our own problem first and how best to move forward with it in whatever form that would take. And so we can say to the province specifically, because that's the strongest relationship we have, most direct relationship we have, but also to the federal government, because you're correct, they have a role in housing. They have some roles in some other investments, infrastructure pieces that could be supportive to us to a greater level than they currently are. It just strengthens our position going forward on that.
Well, I'll be quick here. I just think, and I feel very worried, not because of what you've said, but, what's going on at the provincial level and at the federal level. And do you think there's going to be help for us down the road with all the concerns that we have? When you look at you're saying there, the policing, the EMS, our healthcare system, our infrastructure, on and on, like it's definitely in bad need of a real super duper plan here, and it's called money.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Councilor, Deputy Mayor McKechnie. It's one of the aspects that I think, again, there'll be more opportunities for assistance. Well, should there be more assistance now? Exactly. 100%. I agree. They should be more support from the province and the federal government on the housing front. There should be more support from the province on the healthcare front and things and social services piece. However, I think that within the structure we have, I firmly believe from my conversations I've had with the minister's office and conversations I've had with minister's senior staff, that the more work we put into understanding and making sure that we are functioning at the highest level we can, those opportunities will increase.
Thank you.
Go to this side of the table. Any questions here?
Well, just a quick thing. I just worry about us losing our identity as a municipality. That's my biggest concern, is that I'm hoping, and I'm sure you guys will stress that I just worry that we get forgotten about on the lower end.
Thank you, Councillor Boyce. And that's a very good point to make, and it's one that's not lost on us in the sense, and that's why we're striving very hard in creating a program by which there's so much community involvement across the board. So we have the inputs from not only the elected officials, people elected to administer each one of the municipalities, but also the people that live there, the people that own businesses there, to ensure that that's being held. Because one of the things I have found, was one of the benefits of being around as long as I have now, is from working in 2 amalgamated municipalities. And I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying amalgamation is the answer. I'm just saying it is my experience, is both when I was city manager in what is Quinte West, but was formerly City of Trenton and Village of Frankfurt. There was a lot of effort put in where the community identity wasn't lost. You go into Quinte West today, people still identify, and there's still a lot of aspects of Trenton. There's still a lot of aspects of Frankfurt. You go into into Cambridge, it was a 74 governance change in 1974, and the strength of Galt, Preston, and Hespeler still exists because of the efforts of the people, right? And so in dealing with it the way we're talking about, allowing a lot of input from the people themselves, but also by addressing things around from a financial standpoint, allowing the freedom or the ability of the councils to invest in the community elements going forward by making sure we're spending money most efficiently possible, you will allow that community identity to remain, right? So it's, yes, a boundary may change or whatever the case may be, but the elements that make it the community, and we use the phrase in our reports that keep Haliburton County, and Haliburton and Minden, those type of things should be able to go forward if everybody's paying attention to the inputs received during this study, and not only just this study, but subsequent things going forward. But that is a strong topic that we reinforced with the ER in our meeting last week.
Carm, do you have anything to add? Tammy? Well, that's a good thing.
So
You might tell them what, if we were to collect 1% of the land transfer tax, what it would do for municipalities.
So that was, it's kind of a pet project of mine for a number of years ago. There was a movement forced to get off the property tax of primary income, and the land transfer tax was one of the ones that came up as being the one. It's a true consumption tax. And at one point, there's a number of governments ago, I think Premier Wynne might have been in office at the time, where they did float the idea of allowing 1% of the land transfer tax to go to municipalities for infrastructure costs. I was in Cambridge, city manager in Cambridge at the time, and our infrastructure gap was $169 million. And our share of the 1% would have eradicated that gap within 3.5 years.
That's how much.
Without one extra cent being raised from the residential property owner, right? So this is, and thank you, I'm going to get a little soapbox for a second. So by doing the stuff we're talking about, by looking at our current structure, looking at the way we spend money, and looking on the efficiencies of services we provide and how they're provided into the community, the stronger we get at that and the better we get at that, it allows our lobby efforts into the alternative revenue generation piece into the province much greater. Because the more we can convince the province to give us somewhat the powers that the City of Toronto currently has under the City of Toronto Act, we can become less reliant on the property tax. which is an egregious form of taxation in the sense that it's regressive in nature. It means your property assessment goes up over time with no direct relation to any income you earn, right? And so we need to get ourselves off of that into a different form to balance that out. And I think exercises like this, where we truly understand what the needs are in our community, both from an operational and fiscal responsibility, but also the needs of the community, to your point, Councillor Boyce, around maintenance of the community identity and the community strength going forward. This is like a foundational piece to ensure that happens going forward.
It's quickly, so if that 1%, that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it sure is a lot of money. And if it's that simple, like why isn't this really being pushed and promoted?
There was a strong lobby against it at the time. It's like anytime you look to create an avenue, a different revenue source, whether it's a share of HST, whether it is a share of the land transfer tax, if somebody's getting, then somebody may be losing. And so it's that part. We're just trying to show the provinces is that with this current government we have, and I've been through a number of different governments, that this government, at least, whether you agree with their policies or not, they're clear in certain things, and they want municipalities to be more efficient. They want the directive from the provinces to create an avenue whereby we build the environment that fosters growth, but also creates stability within for those that already live and work in our communities. And anything you can do to move that forward, they're willing to be supportive of. Right. And so this is aligning ourselves with those pieces as well, without speaking to numbers, but it gets us to the point where we can have the salient conversation with the province going forward.
Any other questions? It's good. Thank you, Gary. That was a good presentation. I think we've got more information now, and we'll just look forward.
Yeah.
And I'll be glad to be sitting back watching what they do with it. It's not going to be easy, no matter what.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And one last thing I will say is within the coming weeks, each council member will be getting a letter either from myself or from the consultant explaining the next steps in the process as to how local council, local staff will be involved in the information gathering with So that should come in the next week or so.
Good. Right. Thank you. Okay, I guess we'll do some reports and then we'll take a break. Fire Department, Dan there, please.
Morning, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can, Dan. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having me. I got one of my basic straightforward reports again today, just to let know about our call volumes. As you see, we were busy for the month of March, partly to do with the storm that came through again.
Right.
Our numbers up. So once again, our numbers for the year are increasing, unfortunately. It's good that we're getting a lot of public education out there. And that being said, I'd like to sort of make a personal invitation to all of you to potentially stop by for our First Responders Day open house on Friday.
Right.
The annual thing that we've been doing the last few years. I'm sure you've heard it advertised throughout the county. We're hoping to do some specific demonstrations here, and it's a chance for you to see the equipment in use as opposed to just parked in the trucks when if you stop by at another time. I was also hoping to have the automatic aid agreement draft, but as I said, it's gone for legal consultation and it was not prepared to come forward at this time. So I don't know if you have any other questions for me, but.
Any questions for Dan? Well, that's good, Dan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. Resolution.
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the fire department report for March 2026.
Mover and seconder. Pat and Carm, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, Parks and Recreation, Celebrate Canada. Andrea. Maybe you need to get the mic. Sure.
So the good news is we received the Celebrate Ontario grant, which means $7,000 for the West Guildford Canada Day celebrations, which they can use it for advertising, cake, and fireworks. That's what's specified by the grant. They have very specific parameters. So good news.
Carm's happy.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. It's got pretty, well, going to get out of control, isn't it?
So,
That's good. So we got that. It's approved and
yeah, it can be, I've already let Tanya know. So we can go ahead and make the plans for Canada Day.
good. So resolution then,
Be it resolved that council receive this report as information.
mover and seconder, Carm and Nancy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay,
I'm here. Andrew's away on vacation. So
I think it was a good time to leave.
We do have some updates. There were reports on the agenda from Pension, a couple of the different reports that we've done, and one is on the HVAC. So they've had the professionals in to have a look at what's needed to work to fix the airflow issues, and that cost is estimated just under $26,000. So they're looking for permission to go ahead and do that, and that'll help move some of the airflow around. They found it deficient in a number of areas, and that's all detailed in the report. And the other request is to get council permission to get some quotes to do a full excavation of the building.
3 sides of the building.
3 sides of the building to re-waterproof it and try to mitigate the water coming in the back as well as the smells from the soils because it's backfilled with clay. So if they can do that, they could bring a report back to the next meeting in terms of costs and how to finance it, et cetera.
I wonder if we can wait that long.
I don't know. You may want to pass a resolution to allow them to move ahead pending a
But that's a whole
RFP
month.
process. So they could probably get quotes out quicker and get them done, but we could,
We need specifications, I think.
yeah, and we've got that. So same thing at the same time, Life Labs has sent us a letter basically asking for the same remedies to be done, and they'd like a response in 10 days as to what we're doing to fix these problems because
In
Yeah,
their letter, they reference that they hired an external company to do some tests as well, and they came back with the same results as Pension. So,
Anybody got experience, like, I'm not sure, I think we should be putting clear stone up so high, so that we don't get, and I don't know if anybody got experience with that here? Cause it's
Andrew
quite a
was-
difference whether it's
Yeah.
just covering it or whether it's up a foot above the pipe or,
Andrew will be able to work on the scope of it when he gets back
Yeah.
and you can review it with
There's,
other expertise here as well.
there's lots of people in there you could do that job quite easily. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna, I guess when you take all of the fill out now, you'll see what shape the wall is in. Whether it needs to be damp proof totally. I mean, there's sprays out there, you can spray it and it pretty well seals it right up. And then you backfill it with the correct stuff, which sounds like it wasn't done in the first place.
that's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can put stone in there, sure, put stone up so far, good layer of stone, and then some good sand fill, backfill, and away you go. But, have to discover what shape the wall is actually in when it gets dug out.
mhm.
Yeah.
I went there with Carm and met with Kim, that's manages the building there, and we spent maybe 2 hours walking around the place, but it'll be costly on that note, but I think it's a necessity. Like there definitely is clay along the back wall for sure. And the other compounding problems are that the downspouts don't drain efficiently out away from the building. They're getting into the clay. And of course, when you get a spring melt is when the basement leaks. It's coming back towards the building and then following the foundation because it's warm and
Yeah.
not frosted. That's when the water comes in. But there's a stairwell around the one side and there's concrete pads around the back with a whole bunch of the air conditioning condensers at the back too. So anyway, I believe to do it right, we definitely have to do that. There's a slight crack in the foundation, but nothing major on that note. The smell when I was there seemed to be coming out of a conduit going outside towards I think the well on that note. It's not coming out of the well, but it's the wire that brings the conduit that brings the wire in is where the problem was. On that note, it was very clear when we were there, but anyway, the other thing too, went around to a few of the businesses there and when they designed the building and over time as different businesses came and went and the building was set up as it is now, air balancing wasn't a big concern then. And to me, if you got different businesses doing different things that put emissions in the air, they should be getting fresh air independently instead of pulling air from one spot that may have different air quality than another. So I think that definitely that to get the air handling sorted out first. And for sure, look into the costs of fixing this building up right, because it's critical. People are having to drive around for blood tests and everything like that. It's supposed to be a,
That's why I'm concerned of waiting a whole month and then then it'd be another month before it gets done.
No,
So
I-
the lab would be closed for 2 months.
yeah, no, I think
That's what I think.
as council, we can get on it right away. Let's do it. Bet.
We'll get a scope of work out and we can circulate it around and get some comments and make sure we're on the right path and then
Good
get
stuff.
it out.
Who's going to do that? Because Andrew's off. Okay.
As Life Labs, sorry, go ahead.
So you feel, Pat, like this $25,000 or $26,000 expenditure then is needed also on top of
It's
anything
needed,
that's-
it's needed right now.
Yeah.
And it'll be good money spent on that note. Like I said, it'll solve the air problem inside. It won't solve the smell problem right off the bat. The backfill, procedure will do that on that note.
I don't think there's a smell in the lab right now because we put a machine in there and it's doing the job, but they're still not prepared to move in there.
Yeah, we have done a number of things. They dug out the stormwater pond. They've bought a $3,000 air cleaner machine. They've
Well, there's
filled
not,
cracks in floors and tested for propane leaks. They've tested for sewer gases. They've tested for pretty much anything that could be dangerous at this
Yeah.
point. So
Do we have any alternate space that Life Labs could use in the interim until,
not in that building right now. That's one
no,
of
I
the,
mean,
in town.
in the town limits? I mean, it's something we
Area.
might want to investigate. Unless they could use like a trailer, like a doctor's office did or something.
There was mention of a trailer last week, but they said they were gonna hold off on making that request, so they haven't asked for that yet.
have we, upstairs in the arena? Is that booked for stuff?
Yeah.
No?
What about the small room at the Legion? I mean, is there any sort of investigation we can do to provide? I mean, they draw blood, they spin the blood. They don't do a lot of.
I think
high-tech
they may have had their eye out, but they're talking about the costs of renovating a space to be able to use it, so I don't think that's their ideal situation, but I don't know.
It could take a month in order to backfill that or get
Yeah.
the foundation sorted. out.
If they were
Maybe some-
wanting a trailer out there, though, is council adverse to that if that comes up?
You know, I just think we need to know the alternatives, that's all.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
People just aren't going for their lab work and stuff because the parking is pretty bad in Minden and they can often sit there for an hour or two waiting to have their blood done if they don't have an appointment.
Yeah, and somebody's going to say sometime that they should have had a date. They should have had their blood done. Otherwise, this is why they're as sick as they are. So we gotta do something.
If we can even help
Can
provide.
can we do something at the hospital? Because we
I don't know that there's any space. I mean, they need basically an area to do blood collection.
Right.
I don't know if we can,
Wonder in the
I
basement.
wouldn't
if
need a
there was
lot of
there.
renovation to go in and sit on the chair and they take your blood.
Yeah, it's not it's not that, the process isn't that complicated if the equipment's set up right. I don't know, is there room in the basement at the hospital or?
No, it's all full.
Okay. Where are you saying, Carl? Yeah,
If they'd rent the space there to us or something, or.
well, we could,
Accessibility be perfect there too.
yeah, that's the problem if you gotta go down
Yeah.
upstairs and stuff.
Nancy, just the Legion again is another one
Yeah.
on that note. So what,
They're the blood donors there anyways, right?
right. Yeah, it's a
They
good
could
point.
use that little room on the left there.
You bet.
Let's
Can-
talk to them.
Can we look into that?
You wanna see if you can talk to them, Legion?
I think you'd have to see what Life Lab's needs are. They need a, they need a chair and they
Yeah.
would need a fridge to put their samples and something to spin their samples. Doesn't have to be rocket science for a short-term
No,
provision of,
to provide
care for
service
the
people,
community.
that's the big thing. Yeah. I know people are very annoyed having to drive out of town. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see if we can put them in the Legion, and if we can't, we gotta move as quickly as we can, that's. So where's the money coming from? I guess we just have to, Braden, you gotta find some money.
There was for starters, 45,000 in the budget as a transfer to medical center reserve, so that just won't happen. That'll be where the first 45 comes from, and then after that, we'll have to look at reserves or
Yeah,
other
Work.
surpluses from other projects that have
if we
happened so
get
far
that
this year.
money from Pinestone today, then
Probably.
we'll have it. There you go. Wishful thinking, maybe? Okay. Okay, so do we have a resolution then? Okay, let's fire.
Okay. Be it resolved that council gives staff permission to move forward with the capital expenditure measures outlined by Pynchon. The total cost for this work is estimated at $25,913.60, including the electrical work. And that council gives permission for staff to obtain quotes for investigating and addressing the drainage and odor issues around the exterior of the medical center and proceed with repairs as required.
Okay, I guess that covers it. Okay, mover and seconder. Pat and Walt, all in favor? Carried. Okay. So we take a 10-minute break then and then have building and bylaw. Okay, Carl, whenever you're ready.
Yes, good morning, council. We have just the building permit activity report to present. So March's numbers did pick up over February, which was good. Permit fees collected was actually in good shape. Any questions with regards to this report?
Are most of those commercial or are they residential, Carl?
Most of them are residential applications, but there's a couple of big projects that brought in some good revenue and increased the construction value.
Good. Thank you. Well, it's a good news story for sure after what's been going on. Thank you.
Resolution, right?
Yes, resolution.
Be it resolved that council received the March 2026 building permit activity report as information.
Mover and seconder. Oh, Tammy and Barry. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, Abby, bylaw.
Good morning. Yeah, so our numbers are going up. The report's pretty standard. We've had some more lottery licenses come in, another transient trader license, and our complaints are gradually coming up. So yeah.
That's a good report. It's got it all laid out there for us. I'm surprised people are still complaining. Anyway. Resolution.
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the April 2026 bylaw update report.
Mover and seconder. Pat and Walt, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Short-term rental.
Yeah, so our numbers are looking good for 2026. We have a good number of licenses renewing, a good number of new applications coming in. Some of these new applications are some licenses that expired, so they did have to reapply for a new license number. We are still issuing orders and hoping for compliance with properties that have not registered for their short-term rental licenses yet. And yeah, we are definitely trying to educate the public on the program as well.
Okay, that's good, Abby. We were going to have a review of that bylaw. When are we going to do that? And
We've been working on, sorry, Abby, can I jump in?
Absolutely.
Abby's been working on, she's got a survey drafted and we were going to work with Amanda on trying to put it together and get it out for the spring season as people come up and then bring that back to council.
Okay, that'd be next month, maybe?
We'll get it out probably over the next month, so.
I'm hoping so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, mover and second, resolution then.
Be it resolved that council receives the report short-term rental program report, April 2026 from the bylaw department.
Mover and seconder, Carm and Barry, all in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you very much, folks. Okay, Public Works. Dave's on first, I think. Dave's away, then he won't be on this time. Okay, so is Rob doing this? Or are we just gonna? We have a copy of it, so I don't know. Is any questions about it? Pretty standard stuff, so resolution. Oh. Are you giving that report, Rob, or is it pretty straightforward?
Thanks, Mayor, members of the council. It is pretty straightforward. I just wanted to make note that the freezing rain event we had in March took a big dent into our brushing budget. So I just wanted to make note of that. We're still cleaning up from that. We had a lot of trees down, a lot of limbs come down. As a consequence of that, we did scale back our mechanical brushing program. So you'll see that in one of the next reports that we did scale that back quite a bit just to help offset that cost.
Okay, resolution then.
Be it resolved that council receives this road status report for March 2026 as information.
Okay, mover and seconder. Nancy and Tammy, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, Head Lake pedestrian bridge update.
Yeah, so I think I'm onto something here. I look forward to discussing this with council. So initially, when we looked at replacing this bridge, we wanted to have the new structure be as good or better. It's not uncommon to want that when you're replacing something, which meant that we were going to maintain the soffit elevation, but also have a maintenance vehicle cross that bridge. The consequence of that is deep foundation was required if you wanted that requirement. So after some back and forth with council over the last few meetings, I think we're onto something here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that council is open to lowering the soffit elevation on the existing bridge. So have like a modular bridge in with no arch in it. There's no concerns with what grading implications might come of that. So the bridge is going to sit higher, which means we have to grade further back out into the park. I think we can mitigate that. And if we don't provide for a maintenance vehicle to cross the bridge, we do have the ability to go to a spread footing or a shallow footing. The only catch with that is lowering the soffit elevation. We do require a consultation with Transport Canada on that. The river, the Drag River there is a navigable water. It's an unscheduled waterway under the Act, which means it's a little bit looser to request a lower soffit elevation. Basically, what we need to do is provide public consultation in a local newspaper for 30 days. We take in comments, good, bad, or indifferent after that. If we can resolve all the comments or the concerns in-house, it doesn't need further Transport Canada approval. If there's something that is really a really sticking point, then Transport Canada does get involved. It will probably lengthen the process a little bit more. It's our best guess after the 30-day period, a total of 60 days from the start of advertising. We can probably have this wrapped up if that's the desire of council. For the fees in here, 10,900 will deal with the advertising, and 8,500 of that will update new drawings for a modular bridge, shallow foundation with grading. And we could issue that for tender immediately, basically, once the drawings are done, with the caveat that we require Transport Canada approval. So hopefully within probably not May, but probably at the June meeting, if all goes well, hopefully we can award this work.
And just so everybody knows, I've been working with trying to get Transport Canada up here to say that it's not navigable water, which I think they agree, but they haven't got up here yet. So if they can do that, that might speed that process up, Rob. If we can get them to say it's not navigable water.
Well, it meets the definition under the Act, but it is kind of, it's looser. We don't have to file a formal application. So I think the way we're doing it here is going to be the quickest way, quite honestly.
Well, whatever's the fastest. So does that mean this bridge will get done this summer or?
Fingers crossed.
Next fall?
Fingers crossed.
Okay.
Rob, I got, and maybe, sorry, I'm ready to jump in there, but I got a little bit of a concern about the $10,000 there. I know some of it's for advertising and stuff, but we've talked about this type of bridge for weeks or months. And I don't know, it almost feels like the engineering firm I feel like they let us down. Like, I think that they should have maybe come up with this solution. Again, we threw it out there quite a while ago. And maybe from the start, they should have thought about this and come up with a solution for us. Cause it's my opinion that they should be looking for ways to save us money somehow. And I think they dropped the ball on it. So I'm not sure. I don't know, maybe we have to give them the 10,000 to redesign, but I'm sort of, I just want to put my 2 cents in there anyway, then I'm a little disappointed in them. Then I don't know if anybody else feels the same way or not, but.
I definitely echo that. I honestly feel that we don't even need the engineering company anymore. If we just put it out for an RFP for design build, there's 2 or 3 other Bailey Bridge or people like that can put together that whole thing and install it without furthering more engineering costs. Like, I don't know how much we've spent on it now, but it's been too much. This should all have been done in the first proposal on that note. But anyway, that's my opinion on it. We've done, I think 2 council meetings ago, we talked about Bailey Bridges and everything of the sort, and it kind of felt like it was on deaf ears. And this is, I'm going to say, I think But the Transport Canada issue is going to be a moot point coming up to a certain degree because there's a trestle bridge 200 feet up the river that you can't get underneath with a canoe anyway. So anyway, it's my opinion.
And when the water's down, you can't get out of at the lake. It's all mud.
That's right. And then you go a little bit further up and somebody might come down over the dam, but I'm pretty sure they're not gonna go up over it.
And the bridge is only 3 feet off the water too. Yes. Anyhow,
I think just in terms of the first engineering study, that was council's scope of work that they approved to go to the engineer. And the trestle bridge is probably slated to come down at some point as well.
Tamara, going forward, did we be putting this out for design builds to get a better bang for our buck instead of going to an engineering firm and just throwing a
No, I think
one-shot deal at us?
no, I think it's the council just has to be really clear on what they want to give to the engineer. 'Cause
But if we don't know, what our options are, how do we know, how do we get a better service, I guess?
I think that's a good question for Rob in the engineering field.
So this did go up for RFP for feasibility study back in 2024. So DM Wills was the successful bidder on that. And, to their defense, they provided exactly what we asked for. We wanted something that met AODA. You didn't need any approvals for that would hold a maintenance vehicle. And that's what they had provided. And up until recently, the maintenance vehicle really never ever came up again. Not that I recall. And if I missed it, I do apologize on that. But this is where we are now. We have one set of drawings that was fully approved. We almost went to tender and then we kind of pivoted and went this other way. So this is where we are now. If council wants to abandon it and do a design build, I mean, I wouldn't recommend that. We're this far now, but that is certainly council's decision. I'm recommending that we move ahead, get these new drawings done, get them out to tender.
I'm of the opinion we should do an RFP. We've kicked this can around enough on that note, but on the same note too, I guess in terms of procurement, we didn't know at the very start when this whole thing was at the infancy stage of what kind of the budget was. I think the budget was the eye opener for everyone here at council. Once you realized a simple bridge is going to cost, almost upwards of 600 or 550, whatever the number was at the end of the day for a simple bridge. And I appreciate the design trying to accommodate a utility vehicle, but on the same note, if you have 10 people on the bridge, it's the same weight as a utility vehicle on that note. So the width is one thing, but also the arc on our new bridge or the old bridge was problematic for strollers and people with disabilities on that note. So a flat one, straightforward, Bailey Bridge is, to me, I fully support that. But to echo Carm's note there, moving forward, if we got any infrastructure stuff like that, I'd like a lot more clarity on what's being proposed and what we're doing with it, including the budget if we could,
We can go through a bit more of a workshopping process with future projects like that to make sure everyone's on the same board. But at this point, we're at this one. I think part of the other one too is we were making application for an accessibility grant when it first started, which would have covered the cost of it between our money that we had in the Parks Fund Reserve that had been allocated to it and through the planning department and the money from the grant. But unfortunately, we were also unsuccessful with the grant, which made a change in the project as well.
I understand that, Tamara, as well, but on the same note, $500,000, still $500,000, doesn't matter what pot you're pulling it from, so if it's better money spent for better product, then I think everybody as a whole would support that, but anyway.
So what are we doing here?
I think your best bet to move forward, if you want it done this year, is to follow Rob's advice.
Rob, for an RFP for a design and install, how long would that take you to make some phone calls to see what kind of timeline we're looking at to get that done?
Well, the RFP would have to be advertised for minimum 2 weeks, so you couldn't even award it until May. And then you would have to do the engineering side after May.
Well, DM Wills would have to redesign now themselves and do the same thing, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you still have to, once it's out for RFP, you still have to evaluate it. So, I mean, I would say you're not going to get it done this year, but I've been wrong before.
guess the biggest, like, we'd have to, first of all, find out if, what the parks is gonna say, if, or ministry, not whoever makes the decision. Yeah.
Ultimately, they as a ministry of environment or I guess it's the oceans, they want some formal design of the bridge because of this. You just, I think you're heading in the right direction. Yes, thanks so much. Yeah, that river definitely is navigable. It was navigable in 1864 when the survey was done, and it won't change that position. It's definitely navigable, and that's what surveyors do as a living is we have to make those determinations. So go in this thinking it's navigable when you go do, make your decision. That's all.
So we pretty near have to go this other route then.
But I don't think what Rob's outlined is a very time-intensive process, right? Get it redesigned, get the ad in the paper, and
It can run concurrent, so we can put the ad in the paper and do the design at the same time and just have a caveat in the tender that it's pending Transport Canada approval. It's not uncommon to do that. That's what we did with the Kosh Long tender a couple years ago as well.
Okay, good decision time. So in other words, it's either gonna cost $10,000 to move ahead quickly, or we get an RFP and,
Well,
you're gonna have to engineer it.
Okay, this is the deal. So we're gonna give an RFP, or we're gonna proceed, say we proceed with the new engineering plans for a bridge like this. Are they gonna re-engineer a new, like a Bailey Bridge style? They're gonna go out for prices for people that build Bailey bridges? Like, are they gonna design one from scratch? Or are they gonna do one from Algonquin Bridge? Do you know, Rob?
No, they'll be reaching out to vendors. I mean, they do work with these vendors all the time. So I don't think they want to pigeon them whole into basically one vendor. It's going to be based on like the loading and the moments of the bridge itself and see who can meet that, for the shallow foundation.
Well, that's positive then.
yeah, that is positive.
And to Greg's comment, I don't know who decides what's navigable and not, but you can't even get a canoe up there. So anyway, I'm not being condescending to the comment. I just don't know who makes that determination that navigable means getting a boat up the river, but I'm done beating that to death. But anyway.
It's a pretty loose definition in the act. So.
Must be. Not now you can't, because there's a big, you can't do it now. There's a big willow tree right down the middle of it. So what are we doing? Art, going ahead?
So Murray, the only question I've still got or concerned, if we go ahead and spend 10 grand to do this, and then Transport Canada says, no, you can't do this, we just wasted another 10 grand. I know we want to get this done right away, but should we do the study for the navigable bridge in the paper? Get a feedback on that before we waste 10 grand, that hopefully we don't waste it?
There would have to be, I can't imagine anybody saying it's navigable.
I can't either, but what if?
But you never know. Oh, yeah. Is that enough to stall it if one person says it's navigable?
It says we have to resolve it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a really high risk exercise. I mean, I'm confident in doing both at once, but say it's your decision.
Yeah, and the argument isn't whether it's navigable at all, right? It's just whether you can raise the soffit or lower the soffit or not, because you can portage around it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a big difference on the footings if we don't have to raise it. Big difference. Okay, let's, somebody move. Well, read the resolution, see if it suits.
Be it resolved that council undertake a public resolution process to approve a lower soffit elevation for the Head Lake Park pedestrian footbridge, and that council authorize DM Will Associates to modify tender drawings reflecting the lower soffit elevation.
And that changes the footings too, then, in other words. Okay. Have a mover and seconder? Moved by Pat, seconded by Barry. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I think we're on the right track here. We gotta move. Okay, tender for what, material of West Guilford, and Barry has a
Yeah.
conflict here, so Rob?
Yeah, so a bit of good news on this. So in the 2026 budget, we had $185,000 for final capping of the West Guilford landfill site. So for the materials only, we were about half of that. So that's a good news story. We still have to place it, obviously. But yeah, this budget line will come in under budget for 2026. And we are recommending Francis Thomas Contracting for the sand cover and Blair Sand and Gravel for the topsoil cover.
Good pricing by the look of it. for sure.
Excellent pricing. Yep.
Okay. Resolution.
Be it resolved that council award the work in 2026 PW-11 for supply of sand for landfill cover to Francis Thomas Contracting for $22,500 plus applicable HST, and that council award the work in 2026 PW-12 for supply of topsoil for landfill cover to Blair Sand and Gravel for $70,000 plus applicable HST, and that the work be funded by the capital levy as included in the 2026 mayor's budget.
I was pretty easy on that one, wasn't it? Okay, mover and seconder, Carmen, Nancy, all in favor? Carried, thank you. You can let Barry in here. Okay, Rob, engineering fees for Highland Street.
Yeah, thank you. So back at the December meeting, we had a discussion on Highland Street from York Street down to the lights at Galert Road. There was discussion about rehabilitating the entire section as it is, it is starting to degrade. Also from the traffic impact study we had about the pedestrian crossover in front of 126 Highland Street being hook, line, and sinker. It took a little longer than I had hoped, but it did get some pricing back. And I am recommending that if we want to look at engineering the pedestrian crossover only, so that would take in from York Street to hook, line, and sinker, or the entrance to the government dock there, be $9,500. Sorry, I was just looking for one more thing there. Sorry, I thought there was one more thing in the report. But yeah, I'm recommending against the additional cost to engineer from York Street to Galert Road. I don't believe there's any indication that work is going to move ahead in the next couple of years. And I'm not sure you want to spend money on the engineering in case the incoming council is not a priority for them. So I'm recommending the work only for the pedestrian crossover.
When's that section of road up for, when's it gonna be replaced, the road? That's a terrible piece of road coming into town. That's not
Yeah, it's certainly showing its age, for sure. It's going to be a big ticket item. But I mean, if there is a desire to kind of bump it up in the program, if you want to do the engineering work this year, I mean, we can do that, but I mean, you're going to be looking at probably $700,000 to replace that section, I'm guessing.
I don't know, but it's an embarrassment coming into a tourist town with a road like that. I think we've got to do it. It's just not much different than the sidewalks.
No, it kind of feeds into the conversation with Gary, like I was downloaded to us and so was the other route going out towards Guilford there, leaving town, same thing. So big numbers for us to cover, but anyway.
And that's exactly why we keep patching it, quite honestly. We know it's a big ticket item to replace, so yeah, it's been patch on patch the last several years.
And of course, the patch could only last a few days because you're just putting sand and tar in it, right?
Yep.
That's when, make sure if you're around, you never do that again. That's a terrible solution. Putting that thin layer on top. Yeah. The county's not much better and they're on 21 or on 1 coming in and 21. It's falling apart too. Okay, so what are we doing here now? So we're doing the Highland Street, engineering. Yeah.
The recommendation is for the crossover only.
I support that.
Yeah, I think that's good. Okay. Resolution.
Be it resolved that council authorize Engage Engineering to proceed with civil engineering services for a new pedestrian crossover at 126 Highland Street for $9,500 plus applicable HST, and that council direct staff to return with detailed construction costs when available.
Okay. Mover and seconder. Carm and Pat, all in favor? Carried. Okay, next. Highland Street.
So we got capital update number 2 for you. A bunch of these low cost items were awarded internally to the lowest bidder. Most notably the mechanical brushing for $36,000. That's normally upwards of $80,000 to $100,000. So that's where we scaled back due to the ice storm we had last month.
So you just.
Rob,
made it
how
up,
many,
but-
how many kilometers are we scaling back then, say? Is that how you calculated it, or?
Yeah, it's by kilometer. We're doing about 25 kilometers this year. We do anywhere between 40 and 50 generally. But we are getting caught up in the brushing program. So, I mean, a year of scaling back isn't gonna hurt us too bad.
Right, okay.
Rob, with any of the funds we're saving from the dump cover or, the sidewalk savings, can that be pushed into the brushing, or is that different math and money?
I believe it is a different pot. Mechanical brushing comes from the operating budget and the other ones are the capital side.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay, resolution.
Be it resolved that council receive the report on 2026 capital projects update number 2 as information.
Okay, mover and seconder. Barry and Walt, all in favor? Carried. Waste management.
Good morning, Mayor and members of council. I have the Q1 2026 waste management summary. For Q1, we had a 4.89% increase in vehicle counts. For Blue Box Materials, we have stopped receiving the tonnage that we get collected. Therefore, I don't have a number for you. We've had 2.3 tons of non-eligible Blue Box Materials picked up. Garbage has seen a 7.4% tonnage increase. Construction and demolition has declined by 54.2%. Revenue has increased by 19.44% for the first quarter. Blue Box hauling and processing has so far cost us $679.91 for non-eligible sources. We've had a 2.32% decrease in cost for garbage hauling and processing, a 34.22% decrease for the cost of construction and demolition, waste hauling and processing, and a total decrease of 5.3% for total hauling and processing costs. Anyone have any questions?
No, resolution then?
I have a question for.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ashley, I've had numerous suggestions that the Harcourt landfill not charge for brush because we got hit the hardest for the ice storm. And they say the other option, if they don't take it to the landfill site, and if they do get it charged, then it'll just go over the banks because it's brush. So I'm just wondering if it's agreeable that we can make some, whether it's 30 days, I don't know, for when the cottagers come up, that they can bring the brush in, or do we just let them throw it over the banks?
To my knowledge, it's something that we would be hauling out, so there would be fees associated with that.
Okay, and so is it possible that chipper can go in and chip it all so that people just bring it in and the chipper's there for a couple of days? And that was be a cost as well. So I guess if you, I don't know, it's probably around $2,000 a day for a chipper to go in there. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing. But is that more or less than hauling it?
Well,
Uh,
I talked to
sorry.
Dave Burton and he said they chip theirs and they'd chip ours because they use it for cover. So
Ah.
it doesn't cost them anything. So that may be an option to take it there, and it's just brush, so it's not
Yeah.
landfill.
They use
Yeah.
a bigger commercial chipper too. It's not like one you'd see towed behind a pickup truck. They, like there's a grinder comes in and excavator. Yeah. So if we can chip it, if it's permissible to use it for dump cover, I think that's a good alternative there and tie it in with Dave's.
Yeah.
Stuff, that'd be great, I think.
So you can pursue that if you want, Tammy. That's
Okay. Thanks.
How does that work with your ministry approvals? Ashley or Rob, is there an issue there or anything, or?
Not if we're not accepting it, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
send it somewhere else. Yeah. It's brush, it's not garbage.
So we're just telling people send it to Highlands East? Is that what-
They'll accept it.
Cleared up, so I'll let you know about it. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and now by resolution.
Be it resolved that council received the first quarter 2026 waste management summary for information.
Mover and seconder. Carm and Pat, all in favor? Carry. Thank you.
Murray, I got a quick
Yeah.
question for Rob of this capital update. Rob, on the bridge on the Green Lake Road, was there a time frame put in that when it had to be done by, or is it just whenever?
No, both had to be completed in 2026.
Was the same company
eh,
gonna do the other one?
Yes,
There's no way they're gonna get it done in 2026. They haven't got this one.
they
even
will. Yes,
remotely
they
close.
will. Yep. And I just did want to make a comment too, contrary to what some of you may have heard, that the bridge on Redstone Brook, like on Green Lake Road, is actually there. I put my hand on it. It exists. So they just have to build the approaches, put guide rail in and pave it, and they're done.
I was over a week ago, so it doesn't look that far along, but let's hope.
Okay.
Okay.
Batteries. Ever ready. We're ready. We're ready.
Okay, and then my second report is bylaw 2026-38 to authorize the execution of a battery services agreement with Culture Recycle Canada, Inc., effective May 1st, 2026. At the end of 2025, our previous haulers and Pro E360S terminated their contract due to lack of revenue from the program. I had met with numerous companies and I found that the best service and rates that we could receive was with Call to Recycle. They're offering us 95 cents per kilogram for depot collected batteries.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, resolution.
Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-38 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a service agreement between Call to Recycle and the municipality of Dysart et al. For the purpose of partnering in a battery diversion program be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached hereto.
Mover and seconder. Pat and Walt, all in favor? Carry. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Actually, I have a question for Ashley.
Yeah.
The bins that are near the shed in Halliburton where people take, blankets or belongings or clothes and stuff, they have been like overfull for the last month. Is there any way they could do more frequent pickups?
I actually have a report coming to you next month. They have terminated their contract with us effective immediately. It was another program we had in place where they just weren't seeing the revenue. I have met with Diabetes Canada, the textile program we have now with the bins. They've just left them there as a courtesy at the moment until we have new bins in place. Once they pick those up, they'll be taking everything with them. It's a shame all these programs are ending.
Okay. We're good then? You did the resolution on that, didn't you? So we're all good. Okay, thanks very much. Robin Ashley. Okay, finance, Braden. Check summary.
First one is the check summary from March, just a housekeeping item. No, nothing to comment there.
Any comments on the check summary? Okay, Movern's resolution.
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the March 2026 check summary.
Mover and seconder. Barry and Carm, all in favor? Carried. Quarterly metered sewage usage.
That's all. That's the meter sewage from January to March. We're trending 25% higher than this time last year, so mostly from Extendicare. Their volumes are way up from the year before.
Mostly from that building.
Yep.
It's full all the time. I don't know why that would happen. Okay. That'd be expensive for them.
Right.
Okay.
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the quarterly metered sewer readings report for the period ending March 31st, 2026.
Okay, mover and seconder. Barry and Pat, all in favor? Okay. Grant summary.
At the last meeting, there was a request to bring a report forward about the grant applications that we've submitted, successful or otherwise. So that there's two spreadsheets, one for this, both for this term of council, which ones we've applied and been successful on, and which ones we haven't.
Yeah, about half the time we're successful.
About that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have that information, so resolution.
Be it resolved that council receives this report as information.
Mover and seconder. Nancy and Tammy, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, the Municipal Buy Ontario Procurement Directive.
So this is a report for information. The province has come forward with new regulations around how procurement is going to work in a few specific areas. Fleet and then construction are the two groups. Fleet's in effect now, went in effect April 13th, and the construction one is effective June 1st. So how fleet works is if we put out a procurement and a company bids that is a made in Ontario vehicle, we have to take it regardless of the cost. You must take it. And then if no one bids with a made in Ontario vehicle, then if it's something called an Ontario vehicle producer, if they bid, then it goes to them.
Oh,
And if neither of those things are true, then you can go to the broader market. For the capital infrastructure, this one isn't as fleshed out yet. They haven't sent as detailed a document on the rules, but basically the gist of it is under a threshold, which is about 350,000. The bidder who has the highest percentage of Ontario goods or services in their proposal gets a 10% advantage in points.
really?
And if they're over the threshold, that still carries forward unless the bidder, unless there's a bidder that has a made in Ontario score that's 50% higher than the bidder that would get awarded the contract otherwise. And then they have to be awarded that contract as long as it's not more than 10% in dollars or time frame scheduling.
So do they put that in their tender, do they? How much percentages? Do we
Yeah.
just trust that?
So they have to put in a new document called the supply chain plan. And basically for everything that's every component, say of a bridge or of a building, they have to say what its origin is. And you score them based on what percentage of that is Ontario local sourced. And you take them at their word, basically. You don't vet it.
They wouldn't lie. Nobody'd lie. Maybe. Okay, well, that's different stuff, isn't it? I guess he's trying to keep the jobs in Ontario. Any questions on that? And everybody understand that? So we'll have to be careful when we tender then. Yeah, for sure. Okay, resolution.
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the staff report regarding the Municipal Buy Ontario Directive.
Mover and seconder. Barry and Walt, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, Braden. This next, I'm not going to go through that. We've already read it. It's a little bit of a self pat in the back there from Eastern Ontario Wardens. Okay, planning and information and land information. Okay.
All right, thank you. So this was for the application that we heard this morning for a zoning amendment, which was related to a concurrent severance application. And it was just to rezone the properties for their intended use and to recognize the frontage and lot area. Unless council has any comments or concerns, I can read the resolution.
Yeah, go ahead.
So be it resolved that bylaw 2026-33 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2005-120 for the lands of Norris, which consists of part lot 6, concession 10, and the geographic township of Dudley, municipality of Dysart et al., which would change the zoning on the subject property from rural type 1 zone to rural type 1-19 exception zone and waterfront residential type 4L zone. Be read a first, second, third time, pass, sign, and the corporate seal attached there too.
Okay, mover and seconder. Nancy and Carm, all in favor? Carried. Okay, next.
The next one is for the lands of Rushlow, and that was for the gymnastics facility. Unless council has any comments or concerns, I can read the resolution.
Go ahead.
Okay, just get to it here. So the resolution is be it resolved that bylaw 2026-34 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2005-120 for the lands of Rushlow, which consists of part lot 11, concession 9, part 17, plan 19R-4878. In the geographic township of Dysart, municipality of Dysart et al., which would change the zoning of the subject property from general industrial zone to general industrial dash 12 exception zone, be read first, second, third time, pass, sign, and the corporate seal attached there too.
Okay, mover and seconder. Barry and Carm, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Next.
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor, and to members of council. The next few items are some road closing bylaws. For the first one, it's a returning file. At the meeting in March, council deferred the proposed bylaws, which will facilitate the conveyance of a shore road allowance in front of the lands of McLean on Halliburton Lake. Staff are now in receipt of a registered survey, which means this process can now proceed, and staff recommend approval of both bylaws.
Okay. Resolution then?
Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-30 being a bylaw to stop up, close, and convey a portion of the original shore road allowance in front of lot 14, concession 3 in the geographic township of Harborne be read a first, second, and third time, passed and signed with the corporate seal attached thereto. And further, be it resolved that bylaw 2026-31, which is a bylaw to deem lot 55, registered plan 331 in the township of Harborne, not to be within a plan of subdivision for the purpose of section 50, subsection 3 of the Planning Act, as amended, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed with the corporate seal attached thereto. This bylaw is intended to allow lot 55, registered plan 331, to merge with the shore road allowance, which was closed and conveyed pursuant to bylaw 2026-30.
Okay, mover and seconder. Barry and Walt, all in favor? Carried. Okay, next.
Yes, through you, Mayor. The next item is a bylaw that will correct a previous bylaw to convey an original road allowance adjacent to the lands of McKay and Tansy on Little Redstone Lake. The first time around, the PIN number was incorrect on the original survey and therefore the bylaw as well. So subject to council direction, staff recommend approval of this correcting bylaw.
Okay, resolution.
Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-35, being a bylaw to stop up, close, and convey a portion of the original allowance for road between lots 20 and 21, concession 1, in the geographic township of Havelock, be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto. Bylaw 2025-86 is hereby rescinded.
Mover and seconder. Pat and Nancy, all in favor? Carried. Okay, next.
Yes, thank you. The proposed bylaw will facilitate the conveyance of a shore road allowance in front of the lands of Hughes on Elephant Lake. The notice requirements are complete for this file. General comments were provided from the County of Haliburton, and as usual, they did not have any specific concerns. Therefore, staff recommend approval of the bylaw.
Okay. Resolution then? You just.
Oh, sorry, I gotta read that. Sorry, going back. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-36, being a bylaw to stop up and close and convey a portion of the original shore road allowance in front of lot 25, concession 3 in the geographic township of Harcourt, be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto.
Thank you. Mover, Tammy, and Carm, all in favor? Carried. Okay, next.
So this report is regarding a joint application by Curtis and Legros, who have made joint application to purchase the municipally owned shore road allowances in front of their respective properties on Black Lake. This request is being made as a condition of a related lot addition consent. The applicants have also submitted a zoning bylaw amendment as part of the consent conditions. They would like to expand their zoning bylaw amendment application to structures on the shore road allowance. Because they don't own that shore road allowance and they don't own the land that those buildings are on, they're requesting that council provide them permission to submit a zoning application on municipal property. Staff have reviewed the submitted documents, including a survey. Staff have also inspected the property for the subject lands. Some buildings, particularly the main dwellings on both properties, have long-standing locations, and their locations are recognized under section 3.2.7 of the official plan. However, several accessory structures are located on the shore road allowance and within the water setback with no records of permits, no record of assessment data. So these structures do not align with the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw. Therefore, the recommendations being provided to council today are for council to approve the application for processing, subject to conditions that certain structures on the shore road allowance be removed or brought into compliance with the zoning bylaw. This direction is consistent with the direction provided by the official plan. The Legros did provide comments yesterday after reading our report and note that the shed and privy have been in that location since the original dwelling. So if they provide evidence to this effect to staff, it will satisfy the conditions as recommended in the report. And staff will work with them on this, on what's acceptable to provide it as evidence. Staff are recommending that council direct the bylaw enforcement department to review the locations of certain structures that are not located on the shore road allowance and not typically reviewed through this process to ensure they comply with the zoning bylaw. As noted previously, they have submitted a zoning bylaw amendment application, so they are trying to address some of these deficiencies already. So bylaw enforcement won't have to go out there unless they don't proceed with their zoning bylaw amendment application.
Okay, but
And lastly, because they made that request to submit a zoning bylaw amendment for structures on municipal property, because the structures on the shore road allowance do not align with municipal policy, and through this process, staff are asking that they be removed or brought into compliance. Staff are recommending that council deny that request to submit an application on municipal lands. This does not prevent the applicants from pursuing zoning amendments for structures on their own property. So they can continue with that. But yeah, this is a long-winded one. That concludes my report, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
well, I think pretty clear what you're saying. If they were there and they can prove it, then they'd need a photograph with a date on it or something to prove that, which
Yeah.
people in the past have been able to do. So,
Yeah, and for their benefit, the families have lived on these properties since that time, so they should, that's going to help them find some evidence.
yeah. We can pass it subject to those conditions being met, couldn't we? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, we can get this process moving forward so that there's no lapsing issues with regards to their consent application.
Well, let's hear the resolution and see if we like it.
Okay, so bear with me. These are pretty long.
I figured.
So be it resolved that council approves for processing joint application LO7RO 2025-009 by Lagros and Curtis to purchase a portion of the shore road allowance along the shore of Black Lake in front of lot 32, concession 4 in the geographic township of Dysart. Pursuant to section 3.2.7 of the Dysart official plan, the frame shed, wood shed, and attached south side deck on the dwelling in front of the lands of Curtis shall be removed or brought into compliance with the zoning bylaw. Pursuant to section 3.2.7 of the official plan, the vinyl clad shed and frame privy in front of the lands of Lagros shall be removed or brought into compliance with the zoning bylaw, and that these lands are declared surplus. And further, that council directs bylaw enforcement, the bylaw enforcement department, to review the location of the vinyl clad shed and private cabin on the lands of Lagros for compliance with the zoning bylaw. And further, that council deny the request to apply for a zoning bylaw amendment for a portion of the shore road allowance along the shore of Black Lake in front of lot 32, concession 4 in the geographic township of Dysart.
Well, I'm sure we all absorbed that. Okay. Have a mover and seconder. Nancy and Pat, all in favor? Carried. That's quite a mouthful. Anyway, next.
Okay, let me just figure where we are on the agenda here.
Coagama.
Coagama, yeah. So through your mayor to members of council, CW Coagama Limited has applied to purchase the original shore road allowance in front of their property on Coagama Lake. This property is currently vacant and staff have no concerns. Staff requests permission to process the application.
Okay, resolution then. We had this here before, I thought. Maybe not.
I think they own a few different properties along that shoreline, so this is, they're approaching us about another property.
Okay.
Be it resolved that council approves for processing application LO7RO 2026-005 by CW Coagama Limited to purchase part of the original shore road allowance along the shore of Coagama Lake in front of lot 5, concessions 12 and 13 in the geographic township of Havelock. These lands are declared surplus.
Okay, mover and seconder, Barry and Tammy, all in favor? Carried. Okay, next.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, to members of council, this is a matter you've seen a few times before. The proposed bylaw will rescind a previous cash in lieu of parking bylaw that authorized a parking agreement with 5005308 Ontario Incorporated, which is known as the Hook, Line and Sinker Restaurant. The agreement included an $18,000 cash in lieu of parking payment. The owner has now requested a refund of that $18,000 because the proposed rooftop patio renovation is not proceeding. The recommendation is that council pass this bylaw and direct staff to refund that money. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
And if they're not doing it, we can pretty well have to pay them back. Okay, resolution then?
Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-37 rescind bylaw 2025-55, which was a bylaw to authorize the execution of a parking agreement with 5005308 Ontario Limited for their property located at 126 Highland Street. Be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto. And further, that council direct the $18,000 received for cash in lieu of parking with the parking agreement approved by bylaw 2025-55 be refunded.
Okay, mover and seconder. Tammy and Pat, all in favor? Carried.
Okay, thank you. So the next one is for a severance application for the lands of Cresswell. The purpose of this application is for the creation of 2 new waterfront residential lots on Oblong Lake. Oblong Lake is a lake trout lake that is not at capacity, and the proposal is not anticipated to exceed the lake capacity. Technical studies and conditions outlined in this report will be required. A site evaluation report as required by section 5.2.4 of the official plan. The site evaluation report will assess the site suitability, including soil conditions for septic systems, adequate building envelope, and appropriate location for the septic systems. With respect to the natural heritage features, the lands are located within a wetland DU area. The wetland boundaries shall be evaluated and delineated. The site has not been comprehensively mapped for species at risk or fish habitat, so appropriate screening through the scoped environmental impact study will be required. These studies are to demonstrate that no negative impacts to wetland, fish habitat, or their ecological functions are anticipated by the proposed Severance development. Regarding existing development on the property, the primary dwellings appear to have legal non-compliant status. However, the municipality has no record of the existing private cabins and sheds located within the water setback. These structures will be required by condition to be removed or brought into compliance with the zoning bylaw. And finally, to meet the lot requirements, the zoning bylaw, a condition of approval will be required that the shore road allowance be closed and conveyed to the subject lands. This conveyance will provide sufficient additional lot area to achieve the zoning compliance for lot area. The application will be subject to the zoning amendment for the proposed lots, which will change the zone on the properties. There are no circulation requirements in the Planning Act for Severance proposal. However, it was circulated to internal departments. To date, the County of Haliburton has provided their comments, which was outlined in the report, just outlining the requirements for environmental studies, site development plans, and the requirements for when the application goes to the county for consideration of approval. Staff recommend that council support the general principle of the severance proposal, subject to the conditions identified in the report and any additional input received through the public consultation process. And I believe that Mr. Bishop is in attendance if he'd like to speak a little further to this application or proposal, I should say, or if council has any questions for him.
I think it's pretty clear, isn't it? Well, I'm sure it's been an interesting morning for you. Okay, resolution then.
Okay, be it resolved that council support the general principle of the severance proposal for file numbers D00-SV-2026-003 and 4-004 lands of Cresswell, subject to the conditions and comments received through the public review process and the conditions that are outlined in the report.
Okay, mover and seconder. Oblong Lake, Barry and Wolf, all in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you very much, Chris and Jeff. Okay, we're moving on. Harcourt,
There's been no meeting.
nothing? West Guilford,
No, nothing to.
boy, Rails End.
Rails End had their meeting as usual. They've had a part-time person join staff who's very helpful. Looking forward to being there. The Art and Craft Festival plans are underway. There's a grade 12 art show. It's called Limitless, and it opens Friday, May 1st. And there's a lot of really talented kids in our community. And that's about it right now.
Okay, resolution then.
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the April 2026 Rails End Gallery and Arts Center report.
Mover and seconder, Nancy and Walt, all in favor? Carried. BIA, Pat?
Meeting's coming up this week, Murray. So there's nothing to report outstanding right now. Same with the cultural committee. They're coming up too.
Okay. Harvest Haliburton, nothing there. Okay. Kawartha Haliburton Source Protection, no. Upper Trent. No. Minutes and recommendations from Glebe Park and Museum Committee. We have those. We've read them. Any questions or concerns? Nothing, no resolution, and the same from the Culture Resources. So I guess we'll do a resolution to go into cold at close.
Be it resolved that council adjourn its regular meeting at 11:43 to discuss matters pursuant to section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended pertaining to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land in the township of Guilford, lands of Sheffey, and labor relations or employee negotiations, QP Local 1960.
Okay, mover and seconder. Barry and Carm. Okay, report from closed session, there is none. Notice of motion,
Yeah, I had a motion.
I think Pat had one too.
You go ahead, guys.
Murray, just, Walt, you want to shut that off for a second? Just, wanted to put forth a motion that we, look into, somehow controlling the geese problem we have in town, between the band shelter and the sports fields over at the high schools and public schools. It's becoming quite a health hazard on that, but also it's not very nice to be sitting in the grass when you're lots of the goose crap around on that note. So anyway, I put forth a motion to look into it to see how we can deter or get rid of the geese on that note, whether it's control permit or what have you. But I'd like to get that sorted out before the summer season comes into play.
Yeah, and they're here, but they're here now.
Yep.
Also, sorry, Murray, mine is, last month I asked about a report on where we're sitting with Robert Lee and that boathouses.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything, just follow up and that would be awesome.
Okay. You got a note for Carl? Got a note for Carl. We probably could just reach out to you on that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and I have Murray. As we are all well into the last part of our current term of council, guys and ladies, I believe it is timely to bring up an idea that has been in my thoughts for a long time. My proposal isn't original and it has been done before in several other municipalities. Mayor Ferry has been involved in this municipal politics for over 50 years, and he's left his mark on many positive community developments in that time and contributed his whole life to this municipality. Given that, I would like to make a motion to honor the long-term service of our mayor, Murray Ferry, dedicating the municipal office building in his name to recognize all that he has done for our township and its people. I'd like to make that motion.
I'm humble, but I don't like that kind of stuff, to be honest.
Too bad.
That's, there's as many people say I haven't done anything as would say I've done anything, did something. There you go. So then we're going to have a confirmation.
I'd like to have the name on the building. And I've got also information about some work on all kinds of lots. There's lots of other communities that have done this. There's lots of other communities that put the name right on the building outside. I could show them to you.
Or dedicate the council chamber where he spent thousands and thousands of hours working for the community.
Put it on the beach house. Hey, you up? Oh, what are you gonna do? Really helping things.
Well, I'd like to see it on the building outside. That'd be my motion.
I'd like to dedicate a room, dedicate council.
Look at all the buildings that we have in our community that have people's names are really well deserved. And it's right on the outside of the building. I mean, what person has done more for this community than Murray? So like, I'm really adamant about the name being on, and that's my vote. The name being on outside of the building. Being stuck in here, nobody's gonna see it. How many people get in the municipal chamber?
Be it resolved that bylaw number 2026-39 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular council meeting held on April 28th, 2026 be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto.
Mover and seconder. Tammy and Barry. You couldn't think of Barry's name there for a sec. That's old, that's age doing that to you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, adjournment.
Be it resolved that council adjourn its regular meeting held on April 28th, 2026 at 1:19 PM.
Okay. Walt and Pat, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.